Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast of brief messages to help humanity bridge the gap to the new earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard. It is my delight to be a scribe for consciousness today, sharing the wisdom that flows through from Source. Here we go. Episode 115. It is Friday today, and we are preparing for snow here in Cincinnati. I'm still a little amazed at the contrast that we are provided here in the Midwest. It was 60 degrees and sunny, and we were outside in t-shirts sweating last weekend, and now we're supposed to have 4 to 6 inches of snow on the ground tomorrow. It's amazing what we can move through in 1 week, and I feel like the weather is reflecting the journey that I have been on this week. So as we arrive in this space, if you have not listened to all the other podcasts of this week, I encourage you to perhaps do that and follow the exploration that I've taken in this first week of starting the podcast for 2019. From claiming what it is that I see for myself in my big work that I'm calling in for this year globally, through the healing that I do and the spaces that I hold. And then all of the stuff that had to clear along the way or be defined for myself along the way to arrive here today. It has been quite a week, and I know that is the same for so many others. So my journey is just a reflection of what is happening around the world, here locally, within your life, or you wouldn't be listening to it. So yeah, perhaps consider going through all the days if you haven't done that yet. We started the first podcast of the year on episode number 111 on Monday, and I just find it so cool, so synchronistic that here on Friday, the first week that we are finishing in 2019 of this podcast, it is 111. It is January 11th. So it is clearly a year with powerful new beginnings, and one is a symbol of that, which is really what we're going to be exploring together today. The idea of synchronicities and the ways that our soul or God or source or your guides, whatever names you want to use for the energy that's constantly flowing through you from the universe into this little body that moves around here on earth. There are always these signs and nudges and validations and winks. And it is our choice to be awake enough or aware enough to see them, to recognize when they show up, and then to use those little signs as guideposts or validation that we're on the right path, to bring us back into the alignment or the flow of our highest path for this lifetime by tuning in and paying attention and sitting with what comes up when we see those signs. Before I start sharing a couple of the signs, I also just had this picture of my friend Mike show up. He is celebrating his birthday today on 1/11, and so it feels like an auspicious, amazing year for him. And yeah, I'm just sending him a big birthday hug today. Okay, for a couple of the synchronicities, when I started this week, I was talking about the way to lead movements and how to hold really steady in those courageous first steps, whatever it is that we're exploring or stepping into for ourselves, to be really courageous and claim those dreams and visions, and then begin whatever tiny next steps move us in that direction. And then we explored the idea of heart-based leadership, and then what does it mean to be in our heart, and how do we find our heart if we've sort of gotten off center or lost track of that. And then yesterday, this idea of new visions and all the questioning of ourselves that comes up when we claim a new vision or want to be leaders how do we stay in integrity, and how do we keep that flow of pure consciousness moving through us and not get thrown off track. So yesterday, when I went to yoga with my mom, it was the first class of this semester or round of classes, and we arrived there. I was tired, a little cranky, and my beautiful mom, it was just so amazing, was just so excited to be going back into the routine of class again. And so, of course, our 70-year-old instructor, Catherine, kicked my butt and pushed us the ways that she normally does. And at the end of class, she guided us through this meditation, which, of course, was absolutely perfect. It was just sitting in Gyan Mudra, and then you chant these words silently in your mind. And so on the in-breath, you're chanting Har, 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 Hari, which is calling in the energy of the divine and the energy of the infinite universe. And then as you exhale, you say this phrase, I answer the call of my soul. I answer the call of my soul. She could not have had a more perfect meditation for us to drop into together with all that I was exploring this week. So we finished that beautiful. Oh, and the Kriya we worked on was elevating your awareness, elevating your aura to be more visible. I mean, right? And then the meditation. And so she says at the end of class, I brought 2 of my tarot card decks, or my feminine card decks, and she said, I'm inviting each of you to, hold the cards in your hands, pick a deck, hold the cards, and then put your energy, your consciousness into the cards, and then hold them against your heart and shuffle them, and then pick one that calls to you, and let that message guide you forward into the week or the month. So of course I stood, and after this answering the call of my soul, I'm like, whew, who knows what's going to come. And what arrived, the card that I pulled was this beautiful card that I'm going to read to you today, because it literally captures everything that I've been exploring this week. I have been talking about, how do we find the examples of leaders to guide us when we're doing things differently, when we have a vision of what we want, but we're not sure how to implement it. And the card I pulled is exactly that most perfect, beautiful example of how I would want to do the leadership that I'm stepping into. So I'm going to read the little story on the card to you, and then I will share the picture in the Soulshine Tribe. She is just this gorgeous, badass, cool woman from the 6th century. I mean, how amazing. So I'll share that in the Soulshine Tribe, and you can get the vibration of who she is. But I'm sharing it also here as an example of how we get the answers that we're seeking when we are quiet and when we are paying attention. And also they come in surprising ways. It's not always the path or the, what would the word be? It's not like someone sits down and says, you've asked a question, here's the answer. The answers surprise us in the ways that they arrive right into our lap or right into our hands. So pay attention. And as you step into this weekend, after all that we've all been exploring in this first week of being back into the routine this year, as you sit this weekend and find some quiet time, if you're here in Cincinnati, you're going to be snowed in, reflect on this idea of leadership and why you are listening to this message this week. What does it mean to you? How do you step more into leadership in whatever spaces you're playing in? And how can you do that more and more from your heart, which is vulnerable and scary and takes so much courage and so much commitment. And yet I believe it's the only way to lead. It's the only way to live. And as messy and ups and downs as it may look and feel, it's what I always come back to. I'm living and breathing love in as high a vibration as possible and sharing that in the most clear ways that I can. And I encourage all of us to do that. All right, so the card, it's from the Divine Feminine deck. I don't have the author's name, The picture, the woman is, I believe I'm saying this right, Khadijah, and she is the mother of believers. Who she is, here's the description. Khadijah is the power we all possess to be aware of the spiritual realm and fully immersed in the material world. Khadijah bint Khuwaylid was a widow in Saudi Arabia in the 6th century. She became a wealthy merchant who was deeply respected and known as Al-Tahira, the Pure One, or Al-Kubra, the Great. It is said that with her wealth she fed the poor, provided for her children from her first 2 marriages, and took care of her extended family. Khadijah had a dream shortly after hiring a young merchant named Muhammad to work for her. In the dream, the sun descended into her courtyard, fully illuminating her home. Her cousin told her that this meant that the prophet would soon grace her doorstep. She realized that her new employee, Muhammad, was the prophet, and so she asked him to marry her. They were married for 25 years. She is regarded as one of the most important female figures in Islam, followed by her daughter with the prophet Fatima. It is said that when Muhammad told Khadijah about his first revelation from the angel Gabriel in the cave of Hira, she was the first person to convert to Islam. Muhammad remarried after Khadijah's death, but was never closer to a subsequent wife than he had been with her. She was his constant confidant and partner. And then the description says, when your soul selects her card, there's an ancient narrative and a destructive misunderstanding that if we are going to be spiritual, then we have to renounce the material world. The body, however, is the soul's chance to be here. So a healthy relationship to the material world is crucial and integral to reaching our spiritual potential. Khadijah represents the power and the importance of knowing that we can provide for ourselves. This power gives us roots and confidence and allows us to create relationships from a place of interdependence rather than codependence. We can cultivate the capacity to create more and more freedom for ourselves, and we can make choices for our life based on truth, not just on survival. There's also a false idea about when true love will find us and how. Khadijah liberates us from fairy tales that we need to be saved or supported or provided for by our life partner. Khadijah provided for the prophet, and her older age and significant status in the community made her more attractive, not less. She was a middle-aged businesswoman and single mom. Oh yeah, I know that one was for me. She was ripe with resources and ripened with opportunities to love. Living into our true power and purpose does not make us less eligible. Khadijah reminds us that there is no linear timetable that eliminates us from having the sun descend in our courtyard. She lets us remember that we are worthy of the abundance measured in gold and the abundance measured in the depth of our love. And then it offers at the end an intention or mantra to say. It says, I am spiritually and financially abundant. I provide heaven and earth for myself. Isn't that beautiful? And that's the image I have seen in my work, is the bigger stages I create and step onto, and all the people that I invite to step onto those stages with me. All of the money that we're generating in these festivals and events and movements and connections to Gaia, to Earth, to humanity, everything that I see and feel is to flow energy in the form of money through those experiences and events and out into the world to provide for ourselves and what we need, and then to share the wealth, to share the abundance, to create new organizations that support the health of our planet, to create further events and new movements, and I mean just so much stuff. Like, it's all going to go back out into the vibration of humanity and Source and Gaia all working together. And that is the example that this card, this story of this beautiful woman from the 6th century brings to me. It's possible, and it's already a vibration that's existed on our planet. Strong, loving, generous women who are fully supporting the families and the people around them and providing beautiful energy back into this world. So that is the vibration that I am ending this very powerful first week back with, and that I'm taking into this weekend. Yeah, and it also feels important for me personally to acknowledge like the depth of the love that I have for my partner, for my husband, for the one that I found later in my life who is standing right by my side. I am spiritually, materially, emotionally, abundantly blessed, and that is the vibration I hold and I send to all of you. All right, have a beautiful weekend. Thank you for tuning in to today's vibration. Let's take this message of pure love out into all of our communities and continue expanding love here on Gaia. So much love from my heart to yours.